That's okay. So our next session is, as I said, with one of the stars of our research this year, with a representative from the UAE. It's His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Al Zayudi. He has said that he'll answer a number of questions, some of which are quite difficult to answer, actually. I'll come back to the difficult ones later. What I really wanted to start with is the launch today is obviously a major advance for technology in the UAE. How does that fit within the overall policy of projecting the UAE as a powerhouse in innovation and so on?
Very much. First of all, David, thank you so much for the invitation. And it's really a pleasure to be here. And we're really glad on this growth in our soft power index. And we're going to continue doing all of the efforts to continue this momentum and raising the profile of the nation. If you allow me, before answering your question, I want to come back to Beggie's point about the bridging the culture between the generations. If you guys want to do it, come to the UAE. We're having more than 200 nationalities living in one place and having that cultural exchange going on a daily basis. And we're embedding that culture within our kids, our new generation, to continue this coexistence and tolerance mindsets within the country. Coming back to how this is going to be on the technological advancement of the country. We're a nation of 51 years old, young country which has been transformed very much. The only thing which I'm not sure if it's good or bad that we don't pay attention to, we don't celebrate much. We do the projects, we finish, we start immediately after that launch, and we continue. We're racing with ourselves. In less than 51 years, we managed to do a major transformation in our nation, a nation which was heavily dependent on oil and gas. We reduced the dependence on oil from around 58, 59% in 1975 to less than 28% last year. And we're going to continue with this diversity in our economy and trade and technology. And we're using all tools to continue this diversity and knowledge-based economy, the vision that we set for ourselves. Are we using the technology? Absolutely. Are we using all other elements, sustainabilities, culture, relations, partnerships, openness? Absolutely. And we're going to continue with the same speed. The UAE has transformed the last 50 years through different evolvements. We were heavily dependent on fishery sectors and pearl extractions. Then we moved to oil and gas extractions, then to the improvements and low regulations, infrastructure investments. And the last few years, we opened to the whole world, applying the technology, applying all best practice way of running things. We're applying exactly what the world has been agreed to in the last 76 years. But unfortunately, when it comes to this openness and the global partnership has been slowly moving down in the last few years. But in the UAE, even within COVID period, we double down on that, and we're going to continue with our international partnerships. When it comes to the technology and trade and the link with the economy, we have to look at that from the positive aspects, which is technology will reduce emissions, technology will increase efficiency, technology will facilitate the movements, and will serve the humanities, which we all want to do so. And absolutely, such indexes today is going to keep the momentum and push us to do much better than before.
I think we began this conversation actually in Davos, because while we were in Davos, the news broke about who was going to be representing the UAE in COP28, and it's the CEO of ADNOC, the oil company. You started your career at ADNOC and then moved through Mazda into the sustainability area and then became climate change minister. The criticism that's been put is that someone in charge of an oil company should not be chairing COP. I think we've said that you'll give the response as to why that is the case, why it's happening, and why it's possibly a good thing.
Well, we're looking at it from three different angles, David. The first one, He's not only an oil guy. He's an Emirati. He is our special envoy when it comes to climate change for quite some time. He used to be my boss for almost 20 years when he was, and he's still the chair. He was the CEO of our renewable energy flagship company, and he's still the chairman of that company. And he did a transformations way of running the sustainability agenda in the country. But the other angle, which not many people are seeing, he has been put in oil and gas company to reduce the emission from oil and gas. And he did a major transformation in the company for the last 8 years now. When it comes to carbon capture and storage, reducing the carbon intensity in oil and gas, and at the same time bringing the net zero agenda within an oil and gas company. So we were bringing practicalities, and we're becoming more pragmatic in the way that we're running things. And that's why we want the oil and gas to lead the way. Let's look at the last 27 years when it comes to climate change. What did we have achieved? Only accords, Kyoto protocols, then Paris agreements. What has been achieved? It's all talks, all pledges. And why? Because we just want the same people who has been working for the last 27 years to lead this way and continue the discussion among themselves. And we're going to disturb this way. I'm having Dr. Sultan leading the COP this year. We're going to bring everyone to the table. We're going to be inclusive, and we're going to disturb the way that has been led us to this situation for the last 27 years. And we're going to bring the most important partner to the table, the private sector. Private sector are always outside in a different zone. And sometimes they're away, they don't interact with the official delegation. We're going to disturb this year. They're going to be part of the solution. They're going to lead many of the investment. They have the money, they have the solution, technology, and they have the talent. What else do we want? If they have it, or we don't want to encourage them to sit with us on the same table, are we expecting to achieve something? Absolutely no. And we're going to do that. We're going to be very practical. The same way which we built the nation with the pragmatic approach, we're going to tackle the COP this year in that way.
I mean, one of the things that's fairly obvious about the UAE is it decides to do things and then puts a lot of money behind them and tends to do them and do them well. You know, like the Mars mission, the space exploration, the development of the country, all sorts of things are going on. Are you able to be at all specific about what you hope to achieve from COP28?
Well, let me clarify something, David. Let's look at most of the investment that we put in those initiatives which we launched. It's a way less than many countries around the world have put in their efforts. Basically because we start with the other stops, we learn from the others, and then we do the investments more efficient way. So when it comes to COP, it's a business. Let me take you back to 2004, 2005, when we started the whole journey of renewable energy. Did we just go and buy the solar PVs from the market? No. It took us 2 years to apply the technology, test them in our environment, and then we chose the right one. And now we're competing with the world in the best prices of producing power from those solar cells. Basically because we don't just go and put the money. We test, we deploy, and then we move. When we move, we scale up. The investments that we do in renewable energy, it's more than $50 billion in more than 70 countries globally. We're producing 20 gigawatts of renewable energy globally, and our target is to reach 100 gigawatts by 2030 by investing more $50 billion. So that is business. It's going to create revenue. That's going to create jobs. And that's the directions. We're looking at it from pure business perspective. It's not just dumping money for the sake of doing it and making it successful. Same thing when it comes to COP. We're going to bring the private sector, and that's why I'm coming back to private sector. Private sector are going to bring this practicalities and the solution-driven results to the table. And that's going to be our promise to the whole world.
So you're basically saying that the solution to the climate crisis is to make it attractive to people to make profits by resolving the climate crisis. Certainly when you look at the oil companies, they are currently making vast profits, but try to say that they are going to move into the green space. Realistically, are there going to be whole industries that make tons of money that are going to drive towards improving climate change?
It's not only in climate change, it's in every other sector. Someone will make a lot of money capitalizing on the circumstances that we're facing. Same thing in climate change. If we don't push everyone to capitalize on these opportunities, they're going to lose it. And why it's limited to certain people for the last 27 years? Because people did not crack the formula yet of that there is a profitability coming out from the sector. And it's going to come. From our side, from the UAE side, we cracked it already. We know there is a huge business opportunity, and that's why we're one of the main investors. And we want to bring everyone and show that positivity and the other side of the whole topic, and it's going to keep the momentum. Sustainability and climate change comes back to us at the UAE as a story. We were one of the nations which many countries around the world look at us as an oil nation, but they don't know the huge efforts when it comes to sustainability that we do. I'll give you a few examples, and then I will hit on some stories later on. When it comes to environment, the UAE is hosting the second largest sea cows dugong in the world after Australia. It's in a protected area. And it hasn't been allowed to catch or to fish the sea cows for the last 50 years. The UAE is releasing more than millions of hubaras, the bears, into the wild area. And guess what? The impact of those hubaras on the ecosystem is almost doubling the productivity or the greeneries of that area. We're one of the countries which, going back to the sea, to the area where there's no life, or we're putting artificial caves into the seas at the middle of the desert and the sea and bringing life there. We're one of the countries which have a huge environmental targets, and we're doing it, and again, coming back, we don't celebrate. We do, and we go to the next projects. We race with ourselves.
Given that one of our later panels is going to be about media and getting the message across, one of the things that Robert was talking about was the fact that certain organisations greenwash. They talk a lot about what they're doing, but they're not doing something. Do you think the UAE is in danger of going the other way and not actually telling people enough about what it's doing? Because Mazda, for example, is one of the leaders in investment in climate change technology worldwide, not just in the Gulf. Should you be doing more to get the message out?
Market communication are always critical and vital in the whole success. But it's all an ecosystem, David. If people are not interested in hearing about you, they will never hear, no matter how aggressive you are in your marketing communication. Coming back to Biggie's point in the earlier session, she was asking people to go and visit China. Same thing in our region. Looking at the international reports, they don't look at us as a destination. But in reality, the people who visit us, and especially with those mega events which we're hosting, they get surprised with how advanced and how progressive we are, and how sustainable even the practices in our country and in the UAE in particular. And that's why it's always worth to go and see countries so you can experience it yourself.
Because one of the things you're responsible for is talent attraction. And obviously making the UAE an attractive place for people to go is important. So getting the message out, saying what it's really like is very important. What are your challenges where it comes to talent attraction?
We're a nation which have huge ambitions. And this ambition has to be filled with the right talent. COVID put and shed the light on one of the global issues of the movement of the talents from one place to the other. And now with this protectionism that's happening around the world, and even in the growth which is happening in many of the emerging economies, it's forcing the talents to travel back to their origins. Puts a lot of pressure on us. The UAE has been considered for the last 3 decades as a transition nation. Many comes there for a few years, they get the entrance to US, Europe, Canada, and they move on. Now, it's becoming the opposite. We're attracting back those brains to the UAE, basically because we're providing the right ecosystem to them within the UAE so they can continue and ensure that they settle down, bring their investments, bring their minds and technology and settle down. COVID forced many to leave, especially with the Brexit. Many traveled back to UK, many traveled back to many of the Asian countries, And through the interventions that we did in the country, we're sending a very strong message that everyone in the country, regardless their nationalities, they're part of the country, and we want them to feel home. And that's why we did the major reform in the whole residency and immigration system, and it was for the first time the Ministry of Economy is the lead on that. We did the golden visa, the green visa. We took in consideration all the feedback from the private sector, their families, the people and talents in the country, and then we reversed back and changed most of the criteria and the conditions that suits them. We started seeing a flux of people coming from all over the world to the UAE, and they're settling down, they're moving with their investments, and it has that impact on the economic aspects, attracting the foreign direct investments, as well as attracting the talents of the UAE.
I mean, obviously one of the things that you're doing, your primary thing, is trade deals, and particularly developing trade outside of oil. Are you able to tell us what's going on there and what deals you're going to be doing?
Well, let's look at the globe. The globe has more than 400 free trade agreements around the world. The lowest numbers are in our region and in Africa, basically because we don't have that the human capabilities to negotiate, and at the same time, we're always with the mindset of protecting our industries. We talked boldly since 2 years ago that we're going to start bilateral free trade agreements, or what we call comprehensive economic partnership agreements, and we went aggressively. We did the first one in less than 3 months with a country which many were questioning. And they said, you guys will not do it, we'll see you in a few years, you will still in the same negotiation. We did it with India in less than 3 months. We did the second one with Israel and the third one with Indonesia. We're signing one in the upcoming few days, and we're concluding 2 others as well in March. So we're moving aggressively. We're doing those negotiations in a time frame of 6 to 9 months, with one objective: that economy is changing rapidly. If we don't conclude trade agreements quickly, it's going to be outdated. It's going to be useless because things are going to be evolving. We're talking about e-commerce, digitalization, but if we don't harness those results quickly, things is going to be outdated. The impact is going to be huge in our economy. At least those agreements are going to inject 2.8 growth into our GDP by 2030, and there will be huge opportunity for our exports to those markets. Now, with the 3 agreements which we signed, we have a market access of around 2 billion population, which is almost one quarter of the whole world population. And we're going to continue with this openness to the world. Our ultimate goal to reach 90% of the global trade coming or going through the UAE. So the openness is going to be the main driver, and diversifications ensuring that we reach out to everyone.
Some years ago, I always used to sing the praises of Singapore, and Singapore obviously deserves to have its praises sung because it's a great place. They've done lots and lots of things on soft power. And in those days, people used to say, the UAE will one day be like Singapore. I've noticed recently when you go to the UAE, everyone goes, no, forget about Singapore, we're already there. In terms of the UAE's role in the world, do you see a sort of growing in confidence? There's a World Government Summit, there's the position of effective neutrality between the different groups. Do you think there's a particular opportunity for the UAE to develop international relations?
Absolutely. Let me go back, David, 3 years ago. We signed the historical Abrahamic Accord with Israel. We opened a new page with the world that if there is a conflict, we're going to sit on the table with the same people to sort it out. And we'll keep the politics away, and we'll deal with the countries directly. The world has been pushing us for 6 decades now to speak directly to the Israelis, and we're doing it. Our main philosophy now is to have less enemies. We know that we will not make everyone as our friends, but we'll reduce our enemies as much as we can, because at the end, we want to continue with our own agenda, being a neutral nation, looking at the future, looking at our own people, and how we're going to achieve our leaders' vision in a few years from now. Absolutely, that is the direction that we're going to continue. And it has been there with many countries like Switzerland, Singapore, but now we're applying it in different way. and we're going to be neutral, and we look after our people and the interests of the nation.
Right. Well, we're almost at the end of our time. I'm sure everyone's gagging for a coffee. I'll just finish with one last question, which is the UAE seems to be doing a very good job of developing its own soft power in its country. Is there any advice that you could give to either a developing country that needs to improve its soft power, or, dare I say, to the UK, which seems to be sometimes making a bit of a mess of it?
Well, looking at the bigger picture is more important. Yes, wherever you go, and you will sit with the people, they will look at it from one angle, they will tell you this is the right thing. Tell them, yes, you're right, but we have to be very pragmatic in the way on looking at it, and we're going to take our time to ensure that those ideas suits our own interests. Second thing, openness. The more protectionism comes to the table, means it's going to be ruining the whole thing in the longer term. Maybe this could be beneficial in the short term, but in the longer term, it's going to ruin the whole thing. And diversity. Diversity in every aspect. Economy, social, partnerships, diversify. COVID sent a very strong message to everyone, and we learned a lot from COVID. You cannot depend on a few countries. And no matter how strategic and allied those countries, they might ditch you anytime. So diversity are very crucial, and we have to ensure that there is a diversity. And if you want to see all of this, please, you're invited to the UAE. Come and see us.
So the UAE is going to be a beacon of free trade and openness.
Absolutely.
Great. Good. Thank you very much. Very nice to see you.
Thank you.
We're now breaking for coffee, and that will be until 11 o'clock when you'll be shepherded back in here for the session after the coffee break, which is the media. So thank you. If you'd all like to have your coffee.